monsters wanna talk to me. No quarter drawn by lawyers on a crimson sea. We black willows break like waves. We are fragile creatures on collision with our judgment day. Nightbird says she knows my name, but she don't call it out to me beneath the rubble.
Hey there, fellow Monster Whisperer. Hope you're doing well and been finding some time for self-discovery. Today we're going to talk about being extraordinary and about being extraordinarily average. Which one are you? I'm really curious about how you answered that. Do you see yourself as extraordinary, or do you see yourself as extraordinarily average? I'm going to propose that you're both. What this really comes down to is perspective. After this post, you'll have a new perspective on why both are true. But in terms of how you relate to the world, you are extraordinary. Let's get into it. How do we develop our perspective of life? Now, I'm not looking for any deep philosophical answers here. I'm talking about how we come to understand the world. The answer is that we all develop our perspective of life internally. After all, it's our perspective. I understand life through my experiences. In this context and from my perspective, I should always be average to myself, because my perspective is the clearest perspective I have. I am my own standard for average. Make sense? So I see me as average, but you see you as average. Wait a second. Then how do you see me, and how do I see you? This is where it gets interesting, because now we're asking questions that broaden our perspective outside of ourselves. Just asking about someone else's perspective is the beginning of empathy. Empathy will always lead to a higher capacity for unconditional love. For as awesome as this empathy outcome sounds, there has to be some resistance to it somewhere, right? Right. It comes in the form of two tricks your monsters try to play on you regarding your value. Remember, they think they're doing this as a way to protect you from your past wounds. But we've already learned that has also kept us from parts of our identity. So we can lovingly understand the effort by these monsters while learning to look beyond their protection to our true self. Okay, here are the two tricks your monsters try to pull on you. They want you to believe these two things in this order. Number one, you're not good enough. Just as you are, and especially in the context of others, you're just not good enough. Look at how much better so-and-so is than you in that particular thing. That's an effective trick. But if for some reason you stopped agreeing with this, your monsters will settle for the next option. Number two, maybe you're good enough, but that's it. You're just average, nothing more. Most of us are very aware of option one. In fact, most of us probably end up high-centered here, never getting past that not good enough feeling. It hijacks our self-image and holds our potential at bay, or it forces us to overcompensate, most likely striving for something that isn't connected to our purpose. In this case, we trick ourselves into thinking effort equals value, which can only last for so long. At some point, you may become discouraged with your circumstances, which would be yourself trying to give you an indicator that you're not functioning out of your true identity. Here's the truth about option one. If you're comparing your weaknesses to someone else's strengths, you are not going to be good enough. And that's completely okay. This shouldn't be discouraging. It should be enlightening. You should feel a sense of freedom once you understand your weaknesses don't have to be as good as someone else's strengths. Leadership coach John Maxwell always has super simple ways of making a point. I heard him say once, don't focus on your weaknesses because you're weak in your weaknesses. You should focus on your strengths because you're strong in your strengths. That guy. Super funny, super simple, super accurate. So option one is a result of us focusing on our weaknesses. How about option two? How do our strengths play into this scenario? Well, that's just the thing. Remember at the beginning of this post when I talked about how we understand average? Our perspective level sets our understanding of average. This may be the only time I'll talk about the value of comparing yourself to others, but it's necessary to add depth to your perspective as long as it's kept in the right context. Your equilibrium, when you're functioning out of your identity, feels effortless, sometimes to the point of you not even noticing what you're doing. I'm going to ask you to start noticing what you are doing. We're trained daily to look for the shiny lures, the next flashy thing. Is it interesting enough to catch your attention? If it catches your attention, can it even hold it for longer than 5 minutes? Our Western consumerist culture has made us entertainment addicts, constantly needing to be stimulated, constantly needing to look outside of ourselves for what excites us or for what we're told we should value. As a result, all we notice anymore are these great things outside and around us, while we're missing the simple yet profound treasures that are always with us and within us. Our identities, as gifts from God or the universe or whatever you need to call it, are gentle. They will not use force to get our attention. As a result, they can be super easy to forget or ignore. Recognizing your identity takes intention. So I'm asking you to be intentional. Let your mind be quiet so you can pay attention to the forgotten, simple things in your life. Your strengths, your identity are there to be found. Now, in the context of comparing ourselves to others, this should be pursued with curiosity, not envy. Just ask people you trust what they think you do better than most people, or what seems to be your natural talent. Then listen to the answer and accept it as the answer. You'll want to dismiss the response or pass it off as insignificant or trite, or you'll automatically think that quality is something everyone's good at. Stop that! This is the exact moment where your awareness and openness to receive this answer will be transformed to a revelation about your identity. This answer will feel extraordinarily average to you, but to the rest of the world, it's simply extraordinary. Sit with the answers you're given. Think about them as gifts, as unique to you. What if they are extraordinary? What does this say about how you approach your day, your work, your relationships? How can you deliberately strengthen this part of your identity so it can better add value to those in your sphere of influence? Own this part of who you are and find ways to freely share it with the rest of the world. It's quite literally what you were born to do. Until next time, have a great day and keep whispering.
Monsters wanna talk to me.